Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Now I got some precepts for this situation with this black doctor, so-called black doctor, Eve. Now, I'm going to go to the Garden of Eden to show the comparison, but first, I'm going to take the precept out of Revelation 12, verse 9. It say, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent. Okay, that's what we're going to focus in on, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, the deceiver and the adversary of God, which deceiveth the whole world. Okay, so let's go to Genesis, where the old serpent was. I said, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, ye have God said, uh, yea, she shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Now, verse 4 goes on to say, and the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die, for God doeth know in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Now here goes the part. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, okay, she's not looking at the fruit now. She's looking at the tree. Now, in the garden, the tree represents men. You see, the tree represents men or nations. You see, there's many trees that was in the garden, but it's the tree in the midst of the in the midst don't mean the middle always. The tree that's in the midst of the garden, that means it's a tree in the garden that the Most High told them that do not deal with this tree. He said when the woman saw the tree was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. So she saw this tree, and obviously the nation might have looked good, but they was subtle. They was tricky with their tongue and so-called wise. And she goes on to say, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. So this tree, this subtle nation seemed to have wisdom. And so she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave it also to her husband with her, and he did eat. So that was the reason why Eve gave into the serpent nation, the women of the nation of Adam. Now let's get that real quick and set a foundation. Because in Genesis chapter 5, verse 1, it says, this is the book of the generations of Adam, in the day that God created man, and in the likeness of man made he him, male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam. Not his name, but their name. You see, that means they was a nation. And he said in the day when they were created. So he made them a nation, and it meant man from the ground. But when you go back to 3, she saw that this nation that was in the garden that God told them not to deal with, and they obviously was a wise, subtle nation, but they dealt with evil. You see, they was the evil nation because they knew good already. But see now, this nation was subtle. It was so-called wise as a serpent, and it was evil. And the woman started taking the fruit, the knowledge that's coming from the wisdom that was coming from this evil nation. She was taking it and uh, eating the food or the fruit that they was producing, the wisdom that they was giving out. And so this is how our nation fell. And so when you come to 2020, in these last days, you got the nation of Israel in the same situation. Let's go to Isaiah 3 and 12. It says, Isaiah 3 and 12, as for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. You see, the women is in a ruling situation. And that's what power uh, and wisdom that this nation was pushing out. That women can have power, even over the man. Tell the man what to do. Get the man to eat the wisdom of this wicked nation. They say, O my people, they which lead thee, cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. So this is why these women in our nation follow the serpent and lead men to do the same thing. Now let's go to Micah, because it gives you further understanding. Micah 7:10. Alright, hold on. Let me highlight this one. It say, then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? My eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets. You see, that's what's going on with the women of our nation that betrayed us. Now let me get that in Matthew. Because that's what's going on. That is what's going on. Matthew 24:10, it say, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. You see, that's what's going on. We have the women of a lot of women in our nation that hate the whole nation, and they pretty much joining the serpent nation and betraying our nation. Now look at what this lady said. This she supposed to help with this so-called Maxine. She wrote this on Twitter. She said, some include her sayings, I hope my kids have white friends, no offense, but most of you ninjas and ninja bees have the worst friendship circle. In another tweet, she said, I will probably end up marrying a white boy with a soulful voice. She also wrote, I like white boys to look like they can surf and got the daddy stroke. Rare find, but when you do, honey, Corbett has yet to address the backlash. So this is the stuff that this woman spewing out of her mouth about her own nation. And that's what we dealing with. We are people betraying our nation and hating on their own nation. But when you go to Deuteronomy, it's just a part of the curses. This is a part of the curse for us disobeying the Most High. Let's get that in 54. But let's go ahead and get 56. It say the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her feet upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter, meaning her family and her whole nation. I will be evil towards her nation. And because the main reason why in 55 it said, because, shooting out to the middle of it, because he has nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. So it's pretty much because the enemy stole everything that we had and we don't have nothing. That's why our women disrespect us and pretty much have an evil eye for us as a whole nation and family members. And so this is when you go to 15 and shoot to 15. This is the reason why. He say, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord God to serve and do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So this is why the women of our nation would do these things, because of our disobedience to the Most High. And so it's blame to go around. Now I wanted to get that Isaiah 32. Is it? It says, rise up ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear unto my speech. Verse 10, many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye a careless woman, for the vintage shall fail and the gathering shall not come. Verse 11, tremble ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless one. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon thy loins. So that's what he said in Micah. He said he's going to have them trotting down in the streets because they are at ease in this kingdom. This is what they're doing. Isaiah 30, it says that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. You see, this is what they're doing. They trust in this kingdom and Pharaoh, the ruler of the kingdom. They get trust in his image, and they reject their own nation and really want to be a part of Pharaoh's nation and do what Moses rejected. Let me get that in Hebrews. Let's see, Hebrews 11. Let's see here. Abraham. There we go. It say by faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a part of the child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. But by faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of the Pharaoh's daughter. See, he refused to be with Pharaoh and do what he lived the lifestyle that he wanted to live. He said, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Yahweh greater riches than the treasures in Egypt. For he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. So he rejected going against his nation just to be having a temporary pleasure with these heathen nations. And so that's what our women having a hard time doing, because that's a part of the curses that we have to live out until Yahweh shall come back and restore our kingdom. But I'm going to leave it there. All praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Sherman Kakadash. Double honors to the elders pushing the truth. Peace to the elect worldwide. Our kingdom is at hand. Shalom.